Thank you, Raza. Again, I'd like to thank Bishop Sanchez, Monsignor Sanchez, Bishop Alistair, and Raza for allowing me to be part of this. I've spent my life in marketing and communications, media. I've worked for 25 years for an airline, building it from nothing to what is now the largest international airline in the world. And to take a brand from nothing to that position based in the Middle East, I think has been an incredible journey. Many people thought it was not possible. And along that journey, I've witnessed some of the finest minds in the world doing the greatest things and against the odds. And so when I come here today and see in this room all these great thinkers and great minds, an enlightenment of ideas and ideals, it's a great honor and a privilege to be here. This is a very great challenge that we face. The phrase, the globalization of indifference, which to me means the globalization of allowing something to exist that nobody really thinks is good. Why? How's that possible? And you know, when I look at this problem from a marketing and media challenge, you know, it should be really easy. You ask any man on the street about goal 8 and which ones do you agree with? They'll all say, yeah, this is fantastic, this is perfect, this is absolutely right. It should be a really easy sell as a marketing person. You're making the best Coca-Cola in the world. You're making the best product. It's fantastic. We should all buy it. But now you're trying to really get this to be sold. And it is not easy. It's a very tough sell. And I think everybody in this room realizes that. This globalization of indifference, the trying to move somebody from agreeing with something, I think, to get them to act on it. So I agree with that, but what do I do? You know, there's a lovely poem which I was encouraged to reread today. It's by an English poet called Roger McGough, called The Leader. I'll try and remember it. I want to be the leader. I want to be the leader. Let me be the leader. Please, let me be the leader. Can I? I can. I can be the leader. Yippee, yippee, yippee. I'm the leader. I'm the leader. Okay. What do we do now? And this is, you have great ideas and leading ideas, but you've got to turn it into actions and structure and things that really make a difference. So if I look at this from a marketing and media point of view, what is our product? And that is really difficult. Our product is probably belief, because I think when you take something from agreeing to acting, it moves into believing. I believe this is the best cola drink. I believe this is the best brand. I believe. And people act in very different ways when something becomes a belief in their core system and becomes the norm. Somebody said, change agree to believe and believe so deep that you insist. The phrase used this morning was to affect people's value systems. Is that our product? Is that what is that what success in terms of what is the outcome? That we fundamentally affect the value systems of people worldwide. A paradigm shift that would take, because the apathy, when I try and explain to my children why I've come to Rome, and, oh, that sounds cool, Dad. Right, what's on Facebook? It's this apathy that is trying to shift into something where people make a real difference. Who are our consumers? we probably have, if we look at consumers, and many years ago I worked for a company who made pet food, and they asked me, who's our consumer? And I said, well, it's the dogs and the cats. And they said, no, it's the parents that buy the cat food. So we have to think about what the tin looks like, what the food looks like, what the smell is. Some of these things the cats and the dogs do not even recognize. So think who the consumer is. Who are our consumers? We have a very, very, very complex consumer base. Is it the man on the street? Is it the CEO, the shareholder, the faiths, the politicians, the capitalists, the youth, the factory owner, the guy who makes Nike shoes, but also makes the little village guy who makes the bricks using child labor? Is it the people trafficker? Is it the schools and universities? I think, and I think you need to have a strategy for each one of these consumers, and that's very complicated. Let's take schools. Why is slavery taught in history class? It's economics. Why is it not taught at business schools? It's economics. It's, if you want to be more profitable, exploit people. What are the pros and cons of that? It's the thing that's not talked about. Maybe there's an approach there, we can change people's minds, change fundamentals. So it is an extremely complex problem. Now, how do we go about doing this and moving to the next step? I agree we have to have structure. I think just as we've got some of the best brains in this room in terms of humanitarian thinking and business, we really need to engage with some of the finest minds in the world in the marketing and advertising. Advertising is probably the wrong word, but the marketing industry, to say how do we really create, we know what we want to do, how do we create the movement? There's a famous sort of basic marketing thing, a model created by, I think it was a guy called Simon Sinek, which is most companies know what they do. Most companies kind of know how they do it, but very few companies know why they do it. Now, why cannot be profit. So let's look at Apple, the simplest company which everybody understands. What do they do? They make computers and phones. How do they do it? They make them, they look really cool, they all work together. It's really kind of sexy looking devices. But why do they do it? Their advertising all talks about, we want to change the world. We want to move to a more connected world, a more equitable world. This room, we know why. We also know what we want to do, but I think we struggle with the how in the middle. And I think that's, in terms of moving forward, we need to be really clear about what is the how we are going to achieve this. And so we have to engage, I believe, and we have the power and the connections in this room to the greatest creative minds and marketing minds in the world. I don't think it's a big problem to get them to embrace this project. And we have to use every media channel in the world, very modern media. It's not just about print advertising, it's everything. It's changing the conversation at every level, in the schools, in the parliaments, in the churches, everywhere. And we probably now are at a time when it is easiest to do it because we have the most connected world that has ever existed. And the ability to communicate with people in the villages where the bricks are made, or the gangs in New York, or any other part of the planet in nanoseconds is here now. And I think this provides a real opportunity for us to make a real difference for the first time, perhaps in the history of the planet, and move to a much more humanitarian world. And so, in summary, identify what our product is. Is it this humanitarian message, which is not just a do-good, it's that there is benefit and sustainability out of the do-good, so people understand that there's benefit for all. identify our consumers, and then put together a really thorough marketing plan and goals for the future so that we can move forward and make a real difference, because we have 4,701 days until 2030, or 154 months, and we all in this room know how quick a month goes by. And there's only 154 of them left between now and 2030. So let's get marketing. Thank you.